Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Magical Journey Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Ian Cahoon. And tonight, before we get started, I want to, first of all, tell you about two huge things. First of all, if you are into the audio version of the podcast, then Spreaker is the place for you. I have my show on Spreaker now, and it is a good way for you to be able to support the podcast every time you download from the Spreaker app. It does help me monetarily, and you get a new episode right there for you to listen to. Also, please, if you really want to find out all things Magical Journey, go to magicaljourneypodcast.com where you can find all the things. You can find all the places to catch me online, social media. You can contact me if you're an experiencer or somebody who has a show idea, then that's a great place to start. And it is also continuously being updated. And that, my friends, are the two big places to be able to catch me at. If you go on to magicaljourneypodcast.com, it will direct you to my Facebook group where we have some amazing people, such as Pam in the group, who will lead, guide, and direct you in all things Magical Journey. Okay, tonight, I have been working on this show for almost a year now. Can you believe it? And in this year, I have been building up, I feel like, in the direction that we are in tonight. And when I introduce my guests, you guys will understand what I'm talking about and why. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you, are you ready for this? Mr. Ron Morehead. Hey.
Thank you, Daniel.
How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. Great to be with you.
Thank you for coming on the show. I gotta tell you, like the first time I ever heard of your experience and your name, it literally just rocked my world. So I feel like there's a lot of people. Hey, James, how are you? There's a lot of people that are going to be watching this tonight that I feel like are probably going to be in the same position. So before we get started, just if you will, give us a couple of things here. First of all, for those that may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about anything you would like to promote. Books, shows, documentaries.
I'll do that later in the show after they hear me. Maybe they'd want to buy them then. I don't know. Hey, I am Ron Morehead. I'm producer of the Sierra Sounds. I experienced these beings we call Bigfoot, Sasquatch during the 70s and also onward from there. So able to, a small hunting group deep in the Sierra Mountains of California, about 8,400 feet elevation, 8 miles in the wilderness, very imposing area to get to. But once you get there, you're all alone, and it's really. So we started taking tape recorders in because we experienced about 6 of us at the time, only 5 left because one guy wouldn't go back. It kind of freaked him out when he heard the sounds. But the sounds we were hearing were interactive sounds with each other, and then you hear them chattering, similar to other reports I've heard since then. But that's how it got started with me in 1971. And really a lot of strange things went on up there besides just the sounds and the recordings and all that. We took an investigative reporter in 1972 who had a master's degree in science who actually thought he was going to do a hoax because this continual interaction just doesn't really happen too often with people. But we were having it up there, and it started happening when he was there. And he took his little tape recorder, cassettes, that's all we had, little cassette tape recorders, and battery operated. And So anyway, he went in and started experiencing the same thing. Got them all. He got some recordings out there, and that was 1972 when he first went in. His name was Alan Berry, and he's actually the man who fostered the studies at the University of Washington on the tapes. Having a science degree, he knew we had to get the professionals behind it, whether they prove it was a hoax or prove it wasn't real or prove it was real. We got a Dr. Lynn Curlin, who went to Wyoming, to study them for a year, unbiasedly, and just telling him is it real or not. You couldn't find any 60-cycle hum. No way these things were speeded up or slowed down, and actually saw where they were inside, outside, above and below the average human range. And that was a big deal. He presented that to the Anthropology Unknown in British Columbia in 1978, I think it was. And he wrote a paper on it. It's in a book, Man Like Monsters on Trial. And he shows a graph in there where their tones went, their little, how it shows where they go. It represented an animal over 8 foot tall, one little bit did. So, of course, we knew they were big from the sizable tracks they were leaving. But to have that confirmed by science is very important, I think. It wasn't until 2008 when a cryptolinguist from the Navy retired as a cryptolinguist. His name is Scott Nelson. He was a two-time graduate of the Foreign Language Institute in Monterey, and trained by the Navy to listen to unknown sounds, unknown whatever, figure out if it was a code or a language, or what if it was a language, to transcribe it. I don't mean translate, that means transcribe it, which defines if it's a language or not. That means a morphine stream of words. And he got them, and he got a hold of them, and he came back and said, hey, these things have a language. So he came out and interviewed Al Berry and myself both to get the context of that, all the way from Missouri, where he was retired. He was teaching school then in college, foreign languages and different things. So anyway, that was a big step. But still, academia didn't recognize Dr. Curlin's work, even though he's written over 100 papers and very credible, or Scott Nelson's, because academia seems to have their mind made up of what they think these things have to be. They have to be a remnant of the Gigantopithecus or a remnant of something else. They have to be just an ape got loose from a zoo or something. They can't do all that. And, plus, what we're saying here is they could talk like we're talking now, and that's sapient speech. Nothing else on this planet, supposedly, according to Dr. Philip Lieberman of Brown University, can do just that. Only humans have the mechanism in their throat, through their tongue, nervous system, in the brain, so we can talk and say an innumerable amount of words with a vocal mechanism. And only humans have that, according to him. He's a cognitive research scientist, was. So you put all those three things together, and what we ran into up there, way up the mountains, have a human component. And I've kind of concluded that from these different factors I just mentioned. That got me started, and that was 1971. But again, there was things that went on up there which was very unusual, and we had to question our own brains to see if that really happened or not. But we was all experiencing lights and different sounds that weren't related to Bigfoot at all. And so it got me into, because Al Berry being a master's degree in science, he says, whatever you do, you got to stay with science when you talk about this stuff. Don't talk about the strange stuff, or no one's going to want to talk to you at all. So anyway, I didn't for a long time. I have for the last few years. I started talking about it because I think it fits into so many reports I've been hearing over the decades of the research that I've been doing. And I've been all over the world. I've been in Peru, been in Siberia, been in Russia, been into Nepal, just all over, looking at different factors that different ones have in different places. And I think there's been a very, well, it's really deep, because it set me on a journey. And originally we were thinking they're just a lost ape out in the woods somewhere. We was looking just like most researchers do for the ape out there. And they're more than that, a lot more than that. And I've written 3 books about it, and it's gotten to be very popular subject now, because what I'm saying, I think, is ringing into people's ears and understanding some of the things. And anyway, that's how I got started with me, and I've been on it ever since. So there's a lot of things going on right now, and I think it's important people realize what these things could be, and what I think what this information has brought to me as a person. I was raised religiously, but I found out that we're not really religious. We're spiritual beings. Where we want to believe that or not, we're all spiritual beings with two parts to our embodiment. We got our biological body, but we also got our ethereal body, which is our spiritual body. And the science I got into says energy, which we're made of, at the most minute level, can't die. So that kind of puts it synonymous with quantum physics. And like Tesla said, well, one man calls God, another man calls it laws of physics. Well, that's pretty good, because really some of the stuff that went on out there can be answered by Newtonian physics, which we're all brainwashed with from 5th grade on. I think in the 1687 laws, which apply only in a third density environment, are what's going on. No, there's more going on that you just don't see. We only see and feel with our senses. And we've got those 5 senses that we think everything is made from. But no, everything's not measurable, predictable, or material or physical. It's just not the way it is. According to physics, you get in other dimensions and other things that exist out there outside of our parameters that we've been trained to think in. So I call that our third density, which we're on linear time here, and we think we are anyway. And I call that where we're at right now is just trying to understand more, because I think it's important, especially these times that we're at, with the world the way it is, and the way things are going, and where UFOs are being seen, or Bigfoots are being seen, and just a lot of things are being seen that are not being explained satisfactorily to a lot of people. But I think if we get into studying, like I have, because raised religiously, I was in the Bible a lot, and I started getting into that. But the Bible just wasn't giving me everything I needed. I found out that it's been filtered through a lot of men who wanted power and who wanted control. And that started from Constantine in 326 when he got the Nicene Creed going and decided there's only 4 books worth that his religion is going to have. So he had control. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the only 4 Bible Bible chapters that were part of what right religion was. Well, that became the Holy Roman Catholic Church later on, a couple hundred years later, or not even that long really. And so we've been indoctrinated with religion, and unfortunately I have a problem with that, because it's fear-based and it's control-based, and that's because of the Romans. And really get into the Mesopotamian text, which I went into Sumerian codes way back in years ago. I started studying, where the oldest known language, written language known to man, was the cuneiform text, given to the Sumerians, who chopped it down and stamped it into stone. Let those clay tablets dry, and there's been thousands of them found now, and they're being interpreted now and read. And you find out how it correlates with so much religion. Like you get the first few chapters of Genesis, and you can find out what we think took place in 6 days took hundreds of thousands of years. It just goes on and on. And you find out who the brothers were, stuff like that, just wow, opens your eyes up. And when you go into Peru and Bolivia, like I've been, seeing the structures that you see down there, you realize that a lot has gone on this planet that we didn't know about, that's absolutely above us. And I've been into some of these tombs, and I've been into a lot of things that defy normal explanation in our Newtonian thinking.
Yeah.
So anyway, we live in a third density, and that's just what we're made for. But we're made here, and we're here for our experiences. There's nothing supposed to interfere with that. However, these things were interfering with us up there at that camp, and I think they were trying to say something to me. In fact, I'm sure they were. The questions, but I never knew what it was. I was just mocking them, mimicking them. I wasn't mocking them. And when they started interacting with me, I put that out on a CD in 1974. That happened in 1974. I produced a CD later on, which is available now on my website. And it's my interaction with them and their language. And they were chattering. Very similar to other reports I've heard since then, including Albert Osman, who was captive up in Canada for 6 days in 1924, I think it was. He was interviewed by John Green, and he said he was there for 6 days. People find that credible, his story, because it matches so much stuff. I flew up there in my plane and flew over there looking for the bull that he said he was captured and carried away into. Never could find it though. We had a helicopter on standby in Camel River, and ready to drop us in there to look for snuff cans or whatever might have been there, anything we could find. Didn't find it though, so almost hit a bear on the runway though. Everything's fine. Anyway, I spent a lot of time searching that, and he landed back there on the riverbed. And it's quite an adventure looking into all this stuff. But he said they were chattering amongst themselves. His family of four, two adults and two adolescents, and the chattering, which he claims they were talking to each other, basically chattering to each other. That's what we had up there at the Sierra camp. These things were chattering to each other. And that can't be duplicated. Some people say they can make those sounds. Well, they can make some of the sounds, sure, because it's in our range, but it's outside our range also. And so you get into the language part, and that's significant, really significant.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of carried me through this whole loop of what we're all about, because if they got a human component, we really ought to say who we are as humans and where we come from, what are we here for. Well, you get into the Mesopotamian text and the Sumerian text, Mesopotamia, and you find out that through this oldest language, which was discovered, written around, Sumerians did around 3450 BCE, and you find that a lot of things in there are telling you stuff that you never knew, but it correlates with so much that's been transcribed or translated to human head up here, which everything's been conditioned up here to believe certain things. And you were told when you were little, this is right and that's wrong. Well, that's what you're going to believe until you learn something different. So I ask people to just keep their heads trimmed like a parachute. If it don't open, it's not going to be much good. So you got to open it, but you do that from your heart. I think your heart has a brain fed by the pineal gland, which is inside your head, inside your brain, right in the middle of your brain, on the side of a pea, I guess, and it gets calcified from the diets and from things that we do on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you clean that up and listen to that, because it has direct connection to the heart, which has a brain, that heart tells you up this thing on your shoulders what to do instead of the way it's been trained. And if you start listening to that, it's called a gut feeling. I refer to it like that. And you get that, you really need to go by that, because that's what's right for you. No matter what your brain wants to analyze it and tear it apart and say, no, that old lady didn't need help, but maybe your heart said she did. So it's a lot of fun what I've delved into, and I encourage anybody to do their own homework and do it. But we're here on this planet, us humans, for the experience. And more important than the experience itself is how you respond to the experience. If we respond with love and compassion, like all the masters have been teaching us, I mean, even Buddha taught that, Christ taught it. Some of the teachings, just because somebody you don't believe in said it, that don't mean it's wrong. You got to analyze it and see how you feel about it in your heart, not your brain, but your heart. And that's where I go with all this. So, shoot me a question anytime. Otherwise, I'll just talk and talk and talk.
So, take us back for a moment to the night when you first heard the chatter. Mm-hmm. What was that moment that you realized that you weren't quite hearing wildlife?
I didn't realize it at the time. I thought we were. I thought it was just something. I didn't realize the language factor was that big a deal, but it was. And we're all inside the shelter, and so it's hunting camp, so we're all heavily armed. And we didn't know what we were dealing with at the time, so you didn't know if they were going to crash in after you. Or some of the sounds we recorded are just phenomenally aggressive and just makes you shake if you're not careful. But we didn't shoot at them. They never came in after us, even though I felt they could have any time. And I'm not sure our guns, as much as we thought, would have bothered them. I don't know. I think when they're in our density, they have to respond to our rules, their dimensional rules. I mean, as far as eating, pooping, everything they do, they hunt, they eat, they eat what we eat. However, I think they can step out of this through a frequency. As you get into frequency, we're all about energy, frequency, and
Mhm.
vibration. That's what we are. Everything that's existing is in at its most minute level is energy vibrating at a frequency. And Einstein said, if you find the frequency of anything, you can change its matter. Well, that was Dr. Paul Dirac in 1933 got the Nobel Prize for antimatter. That is the direct exchange between energy and matter. And that is proven by CERN in 2012 with the Hadron Collider when they set a particle off and it turned into energy at a very fast speed. So that's a fact, and it's something that's just been proven. It's a fact, and it was theory when Einstein said it, but I think that's how they can disappear. Because some people say,
Yeah.
"Well, I saw one disappear. The trackway stopped." Well, that happened to me once. I didn't say disappear, but I found his trackway and it just stopped. And my daughter had the sighting that morning, and I found we found the trackway. And it's a matter of matter and energy interchanging. You find the frequency of anything, you change its matter. I think somehow they have the ability. Some of them, they're not all the same. I got to put that out there. They're not all the same.
Mhm.
If you find the frequency, if they can find the frequency to change their matter, or if they just are made with it, because something made them. I think they've been here longer than Homo sapiens. But what we did with up there was very unique. It was very interesting and exciting. How I felt when I first started hearing them was excitement. I didn't have the fear because I knew they hadn't eaten the other guys yet. They got up there earlier, and not earlier, but yeah, a week or two earlier. That's when the Johnson brothers experienced them, and they came out and told everybody else, and I went back up. And anyway, I got involved with them. I was friends with them all, so I had a lot of interesting trips with Al Berry, speaking all over the planet with this stuff, really. And I had dinner with the Senator of Moscow
Wow.
and spoke at the Darwin Museum in Moscow. And anyway, it's been exciting. And I think we're on the preface of understanding what these things are. They're
Yeah.
here. They're not here to help us. We've got to help ourselves with our reactions to our experiences. And you can't be a victim of anything. When something happens to you, you got to take it in different stride. I think you got to treat everything as if it's good for you, because it is good for you. I tell my grandkids when they're playing football, well, we lost some game today. No, you didn't lose anything. Oh, we didn't win. You either win or you learn. You don't lose. Never lose. You either win or you learn. So it's exciting.
Definitely. The Sierra Sounds recording is famous for its complexity. What's the one sound from those tapes that still gives you chills today?
Nothing. I've heard so many times. Well, no, it frightens a lot of animals. Dogs especially will cower down. And I see someone's asking about my books and stuff. They're on my website, ronmorehead.com. And actually, if you get my name up there, is that possible? I,
The
I mean, that's my website. Yeah, there you are, ronmorehead.com. And so that'll get people to my products, my 3 books. And I wrote, my first book was Voices in the Wilderness, and there's been a documentary made on that now by Renaissance. And that should be out later this year, maybe, or early part of next year. They're doing a real good job on it. It's going to be over an hour long, though. It's going to be a movie, actually. Well, I say movie. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I haven't seen it. But I trust these people. They're good people, and I think they'll do a wonderful job on it. And they've interviewed a lot of people, and I think it's going to open a lot of people's eyes uh, to what I'm saying here, because I'm not the only one saying this. Now that so many
right.
people have experienced it, they're all falling into this rabbit hole that I'm in, and we're all experiencing some of this stuff. But there's been times when I thought we were inside that shelter up there, and I thought our camp was being tore apart,
Mm.
and we all did. And we look out there later, and nothing changed. And how do you explain that? You know, how do you explain the all the things that went on up there? I write about some of this stuff and just mysteries that I think there's an answer to everything. There has to be an answer to everything. So that's why I delve into all this. That's why I went all the way into Mesopotamia, into the cuneiform text, because
Right.
it answers so many things I've wondered about even as a child. You know, when I was raised in religion, and I found out that religions basically are based on fear and control,
Yeah.
and that's we think that it's from we don't think we know that's from the Romans who needed control, starting with Constantine, and it's just so many things we only see within certain parameters, within certain frequency. Everything is even our eyesight's a frequency. We see between 430 and 770 terahertz. That's our frequency for eyes. Our olfactory sense has a different frequency. Our hearing, you got ultrasound and infrasound. We don't hear ultrasound. Dogs can hear infrasound. Big animals use that for communication over long distances. And I've been affected by those things. I think, or by ultrasound. I believe up there. Excuse me, infrasound. I got froze up there one time. Me and Warren Johnson was walking towards a tree where we thought one of these things had to be behind. We was going to see it run away, right? Yeah, no, we didn't. We got it within about 15 feet of that big tree, and all of a sudden we were just frozen. We couldn't go up anymore. And he looked at me and he said, "I don't know about you, but I can't go anymore." I said, "I can't either." We could walk back, and we did. We walked back into the shelter. As soon as I got back in the shelter, it started mouthing off again behind that tree. So we think it just won. It just taught us something right there. That happened to me again in the woods up there, but it's a frequency they can send out, I think, or sound. I don't know. Of course, sound is a frequency. So maybe that's how they do what they do is through frequency.
Possibly. And that kind of brings me to my next question is, you know, were there ever moments that you felt generally just fearful and unsafe in those environments?
Did I feel fearful or safe? I felt.
It was that you were fearful or felt unsafe.
Oh, you know the 357 Magnum on my side helps you control that a little bit. However, I will say this: I've been up there without that, and fear is your only enemy.
Hmm.
And fear is just the absence of knowing. So I think if you understand something or try to, you won't have fear about it if you can understand it. Because I tell that to researchers, especially who are out in the woods with these things, and or think they are, and they have their guns ready, they're ready to shoot at one to get the big dollar that moment from their life, but they'll never see one unless it's an accident. Uh, I tell people just control your fear, and your fear is your enemy, and that's hard. That's easy to say, but I've been up there by myself a couple times now, 3 times specifically. I don't like it. It's not fun, but I didn't want fear, and I have to face. You have to face it sometimes. Just face what you might be afraid of. And I didn't know if I'd be afraid up there by myself or not, but I was up there in 2011 by myself. This last chapter of my Voices in the Wilderness book, and I had a guy scheduled to go with me, and he backed out because it's not an easy journey. You're going to walk in. We walked in, but I was in good shape back then. I was 29 years old. Just heck, I could take on the world, right? Nothing can hurt. Nothing can hurt you when you're that old.
Right.
So anyway, he didn't go. I went on up because I had to find out if I was going to be afraid or not. And also, Scott Nelson, the cryptolinguist, had been up there with me 3 times earlier that year trying to capture some more sounds and to corroborate what he had. And but nothing had happened, nothing definitively. I just said nothing to really pin down, because things happen, but unless I got something corroborated to go with it, I don't call it a Bigfoot. You can't call everything you think. Just because you don't understand something don't mean it's a Bigfoot. People hear a knock on the wood, might be a woodpecker or something, but they think it's a Bigfoot knocking on a tree. Or, they this, that, and the other. And I don't, people ask me about tree structures and stuff like we didn't even look for that stuff up there. We never saw any that but that's because we weren't really looking for it either. And we looked frankly, for the deeper answer. The deeper answer is, what are these things? You know, how they trick us so much, because we thought we were the smart guy on the block, but you know, they're the ones that's they've been given something by their creator, because we find out from the Anunnaki, from the scriptures that I've got back into, the oldest cuneiform texts, and that there's some elements that came down from the sky. They call sky people, powerful ones from the sky. Satan was even called the shiny one. You know, you get into that stuff, and well, does it get into the Nephilim, the fallen ones? That's called angels, in my opinion. They're fallen angels, fallen ones who decided to take on a third density because they liked what was here. They liked what God gave us, you know, eventually. But they like what's here, especially our women. That created the Nephilim, and the Nephilim were giants. Which, did they get destroyed? Who knows? You know, they say everything was destroyed that walked upon the face of the earth, but a lot of things lived under the ground at that time. And you get into some of those caves in Turkey and different things like that. And also, 400 years later, they were seen in north where the children of Israel went. That kind of, it's all giants up there. Come on, my brain's got a cerebral fascinance.
Right. Let me ask you this. Do you think that Sasquatch is flesh and blood or more? It's kind of where we're going in this conversation.
They are flesh and blood. They can be shot. And even Daniel Boone in his memoir said he shot one. According to Fred Beck, Mount Salem Helens, he said he shot one that fell off a cliff. Never could find the body, though. So what happens to them then? Native lore says they take care of their own. And then the native lore also says they live in two worlds. So are they flesh and blood? Yeah, I think they are when they're in our density. But when they step out of our density through frequency, I believe that they can be more than that. They can be seen pixelized. That's what the reports are. They see them disappear. Some people I know, very credible people, saw them in that state. And what is it? It's going from one density to another. And in fact, I was in that David Paulides Missing 401, The Hunted. About 15 minutes in that. He did a real good reproduction of a light we saw going through our tent in 2016, by our tent, not through our tent. And he also, section after mine, there's a lady on there that saw one pixelizing between trees. At the same time, there's UFOs being seen down at the playground a couple miles away by 30 different people. So there's something going on, and I think there's a connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. It could be that they created them because some created us. We're hybrids. Everything's a hybrid. So many hybridization program going on here. Because so many different aliens have been on this planet that mess with so many genomes of different species. We have no idea. You don't have any idea how much is around you right now that your eyes just aren't picking up. Me neither. You sometimes see them, and sometimes when your density lowers, and that's at nighttime when the human resonance takes effect. Their density goes down to 8, and our alpha state of arrest is about 8 hertz. So you get into that stuff like that, and you realize there's a key component there that seems to be common, and that's nighttime between 2 and 4 in the morning, when the Earth is settled down. Animals come out, things come out. You're relaxed. You're not in your analytical mind anymore. You're just maybe sometimes not quite asleep or totally into the theta state of sleep awareness, and then that's when you can pick things up. That's when Tesla picked things up, because that's when you hear from the source. The source. What is the source? The source is God.
Right.
But in the cuneiform text, I got to tell you, not all Anunnaki are bad. Just the ones that fell into our density or did the wrong thing when they got here. But they have changed the way this world. We're in a warring world right now, a warring society, a warring density, and we want to stroke up our ego. We want to win by money. We want to get everything like that. None of that's really important. We think it is, but that's the way we've been trained.
Right.
We're all
Right.
trained.
Exactly. In your book, The Quantum Bigfoot, you suggest that Sasquatch may operate outside the norm of reality. What first pushed you toward that theory?
The reports I've been having of them disappearing, and how we should have seen more of them. We only got glimpses of them occasionally up there. We should have seen more. There's times I lay there in my sleeping bag inside that shelter, me and the other guys, and you hear one crunching outside, right outside the shelter there, just a few feet away, and you think you're going to see its shadow break the cracks in the log shelter we were in, and you never saw that. Yet it went right by there. I wonder sometimes if they weren't really just outside of our realm of perception when we're up there. So that means they can do things that we don't understand. But there's a lot of things we don't understand that we got to try to understand more. Who we're made to be like, and why we were changed the way we've been changed. Because our telomeres have been clipped off, so we only live so long. Our DNA's been altered. So is these things. I think if we can ever get to understand, but I think they've been here longer than us. I think they were made prior to us by alien intervention in the genome of a troglodyte, and I just that makes sense to me. And a lot of them have now, over all these eons of time, crossbred with indigenous people, which means they have to have 23 pairs of chromosomes, and that's interesting. And that's what I think the Patterson Bigfoot is, and it's what a lot of people are seeing as a hybrid. When it's diluted down, I call it dilution. It's been diluted down into being more human-like, and that means they've maybe some of their attributes have been depressed or recessed. And anyway, there's something still to watch for, because I tell people keep your flag up, because you don't know the intent of whatever you're dealing with. We didn't know that up there, so we always went in armed, and some of that arm though, like I went in with a 38 one time, just a little pea shooter with snake loads in it, so you could scare a bear off. There's a lot of bear up there too, and that'll usually scare them off and shoot them in the butt for getting in your food or something. So anyway, there's other things besides that too. I got a hat band with a 9.5 rattlers on it, a rattlesnake we shot up there. I boasted I held the mule while that happened. When we cut its head off, buried it, I picked the rattlesnake because I wanted to keep the skin, and it just wrapped itself around my arm.
Yeah.
That 52-inch rattle, that's a weird feeling, you know?
Yeah.
That's how it happened. It's something else even weirder I didn't know could happen, but it did happen. In my yard, my ranch down in California, there was a baby rattlesnake out there the dog had let us know about, and we went out there and looked at it, and I got the hoe and chopped its head off. My grandkids are there too, and so anyway, I started put my knife out just to play with it a little bit. It started striking at my knife without a head.
Wow.
Now wait a minute. Now wait just a minute. How did that happen? That was an experience. I thought, wow, that's weird. But how did that was yeah. Anyway, that woke me up to something else. But we buried that one too.
Ray asked a very interesting question. Who controls the Anunnaki?
Aha. Well, the source, and I don't know if they have freedom. We all have freedom of choice. Everything in the universe does. I think that's what we've been given special too. We have our freedom of choice. Another reason why we have to go through these experiences so we can choose how to react to them. And that's a big deal. That's how we grow. That's how we get our vibration high enough to get out of this third density. But the source, that would be God to those who go that way. And the Anunnaki, I think, are innumerable. There's probably no telling how many. Well, you can't count them probably. But I think there are ninth dimensional beings who are in the galaxy. Perhaps more than just this galaxy. I don't know. I guess we'll all find out one of these days. we're all headed for something sooner or later.
Right. So there's also a pretty interesting comment made by Ray, uh, wondering if Sasquatch evolves or is the same always kind of frozen in time.
I think they evolved.
Mhm.
They evolved by crossbreeding and just by evolving. But I don't think, again, they're all the same. I've been all the world um, interviewing people and talking to people about what they saw, what's going on there. And like the ones in Nepal are smaller, a little much higher, different. And but the strange thing, there was a Genesis went up there with a geographic uh, grant with a bunch of people, and they did a documentary up there. And she took eDNA, which is environmental DNA, out of some ice at 17,000 feet. Come back, and it was the mitochondrial, which is the maternal side, was human, 99% human. And that's interesting. I think it's 99%. Anyway, it falls right into Melba Ketchum's study too, which she went a little off on that, but she went right into the Nephilim theory of the alien intervention because she couldn't identify the nuclear DNA of the species samples that she had. So she said, well, it has to be if it's not in the gene bank, which has billions of samples, it has to be contaminated according to academia science. Because we, unfortunately, humans here think they're the smartest thing on this planet, and we're not. These things have been evolving, and more they're expanding. They come into our third density to have children. I think they do that. We record a small voice up there, and they have small tracks chewing snow. So it's they do have small ones. A lot of people report a family. They're running family units, and I think they teach their young in this third density how to deal with us humans and how to toy with us, because they do toy with you, by the way. I think they're messing with us a lot up there, but we didn't realize at the time. So, well, what I've done differently, if I know what I know now, what I think I know now, I would have done things differently. But I didn't know what I knew now. What I think.
Right. Right. What's your opinion about mind speak?
Mayans?
Mind speak.
Oh, mind speak. Oh, that's telepathic. Yeah,
Yes.
telepathy. If they find the frequency of what you're in, they can send something to you. Now you got to always analyze. I mean, we do. I do. I'm very analytical. Analyze, did that thought come to me from something else, or was I thinking of something else? Did my brain do that, or did something else do that? Well, when it happens to you, you know what did it, and you have to be in that state. I think it's between the alpha and theta state of awareness, sleep, basically, and in that state, you can have things come to you through that frequency, and I think it's important we realize that. Yeah, that happens. It happens even when you're conscious, like we are now. Some people are just very telepathic, and that's like you think of a phone call. Somebody's fixing to call you, and sure enough, the phone rings, and that person calls you. Well, several other things like that happen too. Other than that, I was talking to a guy today about something. He said, "Wow, it just popped up on my screen." That's what we was talking about. I didn't do that. Anyway, it's fun, but it's also interesting. Yeah, mind speak. Like I say, it's all about frequency, energy, vibration.
Definitely so. Have you seen Sasquatch shape shift into other animal forms?
I have not. Skinwalker Ranch claims that. My granddaughter, she's a teacher of teachers right now. She's here in Washington, where I'm at now, and she has. Well, I got to tell you a story. My daughter saw one when we was down close to our camp, and she saw it run across this meadow real early in the morning, just at daybreak. And my Wendy, my granddaughter, was with us, and she was 18 at the time. No, 19 maybe. She was a student at San Jose. No, Santa Cruz. Not that matters, but anyway. I went over and she saw this thing run towards where my granddaughter was walking. And my daughter Rhonda thought, well, Wendy's going to see that. So when she came back to camp, she said, "Did you see anything?" She said, "Yeah, there was a big white wolf came right out in front of me and stood there and looked at me for a while." I just stared at it. She just told me about that again yesterday. And I can't say any more than that because we found his trackway later. And that's the time I saw the trackways disappear. And I looked in the trees. I looked where it could have went. But, I got a picture of that in my first book, Voices in the Wilderness, too. So, also, not two.
Some researchers avoid paranormal Bigfoot theories because they feel like it would damage their credibility. Has taking that leap caused you any connections in the field?
It used to, but not anymore. I think more and more people are grabbing onto, because like Tesla said, well, one man calls it God, another one calls the laws of physics. And so you find that spirituality and quantum physics are synonymous. And you just have to get into that brain work and turn your head into a parachute, make sure it opens.
I love that, turning your head into a parachute.
Sometimes it looks like a big bubble in your shoulders.
Right. What's your take on the idea that these beings can manipulate perception or even cloak themselves?
Yeah, well, the cloaking we've talked about, that's the matter and antimatter. But as far as making you think something, I don't know, because something made us think we heard our camp being tore apart. Mm-hmm. Something made us think we heard something up in the sky, which wasn't there. Never did see it anyway. Or did we really hear that? We're cognizant, we're awake, and you just gotta wonder: are they hypnotizing all of us, or causing us to think that way? Can they do that? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's, but they have to do it to all of us. I wasn't always. Well, I've been up there by myself, but I wasn't by myself those times, and yeah. Also, metallic sounds. Yeah, where'd that come from?
Metallic sounds like as in doors opening and closing?
No, metallic sounds like metal.
Ah.
Yeah. I have heard a door open and close up there, though. There's no doors up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many things that went on up there that people are wanting to know more about, and that's why I talk about it like this on programs like yours. I'm so glad you invited me on this program. So
I'm glad you're here. That's one of the things that in reading more about your work and your experiences, it, like I said, it's almost as if this is the accumulation of what I've been working for with this show, is to bring us to this point. I lost my train of thought for a moment. So if tomorrow absolute proof of Sasquatch existence went public, how do you think humanity would react to that?
Well, it depends on the government, how they presented it, because usually up until now, the UFOs and aliens like that are poo-pooed. They can't explain it, they're going to hide it. They're only going to give you what they think you can handle. So until these things are really showing up amongst everything, like UFOs are going to, and like aliens are fixing to, and we're going to have a big year ahead of us, I think, maybe a couple of years. That's why it's more and more important that people understand who they are as a human, realize that nothing's going to hurt you, nothing can affect your ethereal part of you except you, how you respond to experiences. So I suggest people don't get caught up too much. I got a whole chapter in my last book, Bigfoot Unveiled, about AI. I think AI is very important, what's coming. And the whole world's going to be dependent on it. They're going to have their own cognizant. They're going to have their own. They're going to create themselves. I just got all kinds of faith in that right there. I think that is the end times. But I suggest people when they get offered, because we're made to go to the sixth density after this, go through the fourth of time where we choose where we're going to go, either back here and reincarnate, or, and I do believe in reincarnation now. I didn't used to. I wasn't raised that way at all, but I don't think it makes sense. And all these little 5-year-old kids that can play Chopin, all that stuff, you know, you got to wonder how that happens. I see my grandkids, how sharp they are. My gosh, I thought I was sharp when I was young, but no, I'm not compared to what they're going on now. And also, different kids that age knowing different languages. So how do you explain that? Well, talking to the minister about this, well, it's appointed of the man once to die. After that, well, he emphasized once. I think basically it's appointed of the man wants to die. You know, it's depending on what you emphasize there and where you're going to go with it, because we do die. There's no question about this. Biological body is going to go. And it's the ethereal part which does not die. It goes into judgment, and that's where you decide. You read about, or you understand everything then. Anyway, sixth dimension, ninth dimension is our ultimate goal. We've got to be, that's what we're supposed to be headed for, the ninth dimension. And that's where you really get into.
True.
Because we're made to be like that, I think. And if we take an AI body, and if someone tells you that you could have 1,000 years of good health, just take this other body will transfer your consciousness. That happened. That will happen. And you'll take it. I mean, if you're not careful, if you don't know. But stay with who you were created by, the image you were created in. And that's to be a ninth dimensional being.
Right. After decades in the field, what keeps you curious? And what's the questions that you still have not answered yet?
Huh. What keeps me interested?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my quantum theory. my thoughts about this thing, it keeps getting, every time I reach into something else, it digs out a little bit more and adds to that picture. And that keeps me interested, because I think I got a kind of a picture of what these things are all about. And they can entangle your brain, and of course everything can entangle your brain if you got an open one. You know, you got to be careful there what you entertain. What was the last other question?
What questions do you still have that you haven't answered yet?
Oh, I'm getting there.
Are you getting it?
Well, animals, you know, their energy too.
Mm-hmm.
What controls their energy, and we control our energy, because we have choices as humans that we are. We control a lot more than what we think we do, and we have a lot more to go within ourselves to. Basically, I want to improve my vibration. You do that through, I think, through meditation. That's when you be quiet and just try to hear. Don't be talking all the time. Just be quiet and try to hear and understand what's being told to you, and be quiet and see what your peace at in your heart, because your heart and your brain have to be in coherence, and that's the bottom line. What we need to accomplish, all of us do. We can learn to do that via the pineal gland, I believe, the third eye, and that connects into the heart. That's our receptor, in my opinion. I think we got a lot of receptors in our body, but the pineal gland is the main one. The brain takes care of your body. The heart takes care of your soul. Yeah. That was a good one. I just thought of that.
It is very good. I think we've touched on this pretty well tonight, but as we round into our top of an hour here, what is your final thoughts that you would like to leave with us tonight?
Okay, glad you asked. Know who you are as a human being. Know what you are and why you're here. You know, don't be a victim of anything. Learn from everything, and don't get mad at people for any reason. You know, you want to sometimes. keep that middle finger down. Just don't do it. Show compassion and love for everything that happens. And that's easier said than done sometimes for some people, but that's what I try to do, and that's what I want. I'd like to see everybody doing that, because then the whole earth would be better. We'd stop our warring culture, and they need to stop killing people and stop hurting people. We all got to think that way, I think, to get this vibrational up. That's the only way you're going to get out of third density, because if you don't learn something here, you're going to have to learn it somewhere. Either here another time or another planet that's on third density. That's the thought I like to leave people with, is know who you are as a human being, how special you are, how privileged you are to have been given this golden ticket to be on this planet.
Definitely. I appreciate you so much and the work that you do. You definitely have brought us to a greater understanding of of Bigfoot, of life experience, and I feel like your work, your calling, has definitely brought humanity to the place where we are now, in our understanding of not just the Bigfoot creatures, but the potential in our existence, their existence. So I definitely appreciate you, and I thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you asking me.
Definitely. And I'm going to run us out for the night, and I will drop back in just a moment with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys. Wow. So much wisdom and knowledge and understanding. This has been a very powerful night, and I appreciate each one of you for joining us. If you've made it this far into the show tonight, I would like for you to leave me a comment below. What's your thoughts on Sasquatch? Is it flesh and blood or more? And do you believe that Sasquatch and other cryptids as well are paranormal? Give me your thoughts on it in the comments below. Meanwhile, I appreciate you guys. I love you. And may your journey always be magical.
I've waited for so long to see when you come back to me. Through the wars and battles that were lost, we're born again, it's you and me. The rest is history. Past lives. Past lives. Did we dance together on different floors in 1500 or 1504? We must have been lovers, we must have been something.